So this topic isn't necessarily a new ritual for me or a new practice that I follow, but still I thought it would be interesting to discuss my thoughts and kind of explain the reasoning why I stopped following video game news outlets and kind of professional media specifically. Now, important to note here that this isn't to say I don't follow any gaming news. I mean, if you're in the business of creating content or loving any hobby, then you're obviously going to want to get more involved with whatever that industry or community entails. And usually this does include following news sources and sites. So of course I do still do that. It's just that basically I stay as removed as I possibly can from the more large corporate media, and instead I find myself kind of following more influencers or insiders who typically break these stories just as soon, if not earlier, than some of the mainstream news outlets. So in this video, I'm going to break down a couple of key factors as to why I removed myself from the mainstream gaming news and sort of how I supplement that with different sources of media to achieve basically the same results. Now, I think if we were to break down the largest conglomerates of video game news, these would probably include sites like IGN, GameSpot, and Kotaku. You know, these three specifically seem to have the most significant influence, although there are many others in this sector as well. But these sort of have millions of subscribers on YouTube. They have millions of followers on other social sites, and they get some exclusive content, interviews, and really it's no wonder why so many people follow him just due to this reasoning entirely. You know, you have to imagine it's quite enticing if you're really anticipating a game, you know, to immediately follow these sources, because quite often what happens is just due to their sheer size and amount of followers, they'll often get invited to tour or sort of discuss the development of a game, especially for smaller developers as well who really aren't managing their, you know, entire social media accounts. This could just be an incredible way to get more eyes and ears on your project. So, you know, this makes sense, but these companies do more with their sites, and what I'm going to break down is a few of their other sort of key content and I guess my feelings towards them. So let's start with reviews. These are the basic bread and butter of just about any games media outlets. And newly released games, you know, everyone wants to know how good the game is, what it's like, is it polished, is it finished, and just overall whether it's worth buying right now. Now, personally, I don't read or watch video game reviews at all. It's very rare that I do. In fact, I think I'm actually subscribed to one person who does do newly released video game reviews. And that's simply because I find his commentary and really his attention to detail just much more in depth than what the typical mainstream review sites offer. And that person would be ACG. Now, although I don't follow reviews from these big companies, I do generally get to hear what these companies end up rating these games, and overall the general consensus from the critics, because what happens is people just end up reposting the final scores from these sites on like one simple thread on Twitter. So for the influencers I do follow online there, I get to hear sort of the basic reception of a new game when it comes out from all these different sites, you know, in just one place. But I don't actually go, you know, searching for any of this information. You know, to be completely honest, I just don't care what Joe or whomever from IGN thinks about a game. And overall, if there is a game that looks interesting to me and I want to play it, I'm just a huge believer in the simple practice of just go and try it. I don't want anyone sort of dictating what I should think, what I should be spending my time with, and especially because the rating systems I feel are just so damaging to the overall context and work put into most reviews. You know, it's frustrating, but I would imagine that more so than not, people tend to click on a video review only to go straight to the end to see what the final score is. And even more frustrating is that people seem to take these, you know, 1 to 10 scores, these rankings, and look at them sort of similar to as if it's a school grade. Like, the funny thing is that these sites actually post up what each of these numbered scores mean, and you can clearly see that through all of them, a 5 out of 10 score is considered an average or mediocre game. But so many people, when they see 5 out of 10, it's like looking at like a 50% on a school test. You just fail immediately. So many of these reviews are misinterpreted by the audience, and it doesn't help as well that the game reviewers in a professional capacity are given so little time to play the game that there's just no guarantee that they're even going to finish it. And sometimes there's no guarantee that they're actually educated in that genre or the tech behind the game. So it's like looking at the most layman's, description of what a gamer is with little to no understanding of the tech. And the only question they're asking themselves at the end of it, or when it's time for them to write the review, is, well, did I have fun? It could be hard. So many sort of hide behind the excuse that reviews are subjective. And yes, this is true. Reviews are mostly subjective, but there are objective elements to a game, like the technology it's powering, the responsiveness of the controls, the cinematic presentation, the quality of the game itself, its longevity. These things could be objectively measured. And just because you may not find something personally fun to play doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad game in practice, and I advocated for this for a very long time. So the problem is that without any commitment to the responsibility, if they're not going to care about making sure that these things are covered in a professional manner, then why should I care to give them my time to watch or read their thoughts? But let's move on. Now, opinion pieces have become substantially more and more prominent day to day and through these companies specifically. Now, we have to be fair here. I do think that YouTubers and the rise of user-generated content has really just had a side effect on effective, fair journalism, because human beings tend to be very tribalistic, especially in their approach to celebrating things of interest. So often what happens is people will subscribe to a group or one single person who just simply reaffirms their beliefs and opinions and just overall empowers their comfort by challenging or often making fun of the opposing viewpoint. So often opinion pieces get greenlit due to their significant profitability. I mean, all you're doing is really targeting controversy and adding more fuel to the flame of this hot topic in order to sort of increase engagement and user interaction, and generally making a significant sum in the process of doing this. So at this time, the big topic that everyone is discussing right now is the introduction of now $80 games. Nintendo was the first to do this. Now we had Microsoft that has followed soon after, and we're all basically waiting for Sony to put up a small posting saying, hey, we love our consumers, but due to changes in market conditions, we're going to be changing the prices. So yeah, sorry. Admittedly, this is frustrating, but for the sake of staying on topic, I'm not going to go any further with that subject right now. But typically, journalism, what it would used to do, it would simply say, hey, these companies are doing this. Here's a statement directly from them. What are your thoughts? But today, that's not really interesting. That doesn't get a lot of clicks. So instead, the words are skewed a bit and rewritten with trigger points to target people's emotional responses. So that same article, with that same information may now appear like this. Consumers have painfully been surviving years of inflation with no end in sight, and now these companies have decided that it's the best time to increase the price of standard games. Many are worried they'll be priced out of their hobby, and the future is unclear. It's certainly difficult to imagine the average consumer paying more for their entertainment. How much would you be willing to pay for your next game? Let us know in the comments. The story is the same there, but now I've emotionally targeted and written it in a way to sort of best elicit a triggered response from you. And when you do hear that, it does immediately charge you, and this is happening all the time, all around us. So in the end here, what I've done to basically remove myself is I just stopped caring. I have been finding that as I've been getting older, the saying ignorance is bliss is become more true than ever. Now, I want to be clear here. I'm not advocating for anyone to adopt, this particular mindset or thought process. I'm just simply sharing my thoughts. And I think that, everyone should do whatever they want to do for themselves. I'm not trying to justify my way of thinking, or reasoning or logic or behind any of the decisions that I make. We really need people to speak out and get angry and be willing voices against terrible decision. It's only through that rebellion that change is enacted, and history has proven this time and time again. But I have to admit that for me specifically, there's just been this abundance of noise surrounding any topic, no matter what it is, and just anywhere. So it kind of comes through as like constant screaming and this back and forth conversating that I just find myself wanting just a little peace and quiet in my life. Now, at the moment, it seems that anything you want to get more intimately involved with has this sort of terrible underside or hidden truth about it. And when it comes to video games specifically, everyone is mad regarding something in the game. It doesn't matter how good the game is, it can never be good enough. And if the game has achieved this incredible quality when it came out, then certainly the people who made it are quite questionable, and you shouldn't support it regardless. But man, at the end of the day, I just want to play games. I just want to have a good time. I don't want to think about what is this going to mean if I buy this or if I play it. Am I supporting something terrible? You know, like there's terrible people all over the world here, you know, and it's just it's my fun, it's my hobby, it's my time to relax and enjoy myself. And if I'm spending even a fraction of that time, you know, just frustrating myself or welcoming in any amount of pain or misery, then it's a waste of that precious time. Anyways, it just kind of upsets me. I tend to just be kind of removed these days, and you know, I'll be on Twitter, but those of you who follow me on Twitter, it's almost useless at this point. I only post up when I do new content. I tend to not even talk about my opinions or feelings about a lot of stuff. Generally, you know, sometimes I'll say, hey, I'm going to the movies, or I really enjoyed this film, you know, but that's about it. I tend to sort of, you know, be kind of more quiet these days. And honestly, I think it's kept my sanity in check, by sort of removing myself and again just blocking out all this noise and screaming that's just been quite unhealthy for a lot of people, and I've seen it's changed a lot of people. Anyways, I think I just about said everything I wanted to on this topic. I suppose let me know what you guys think, and you know, I imagine that this could be sort of a hot issue, but I still wanted to share my thoughts, as you know, although it's something I've felt and practiced for a very long time now, I still find that it's important, more so than ever, especially these days, and still very much relevant. So let me know what you guys think, and thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a fantastic day, and appreciate the support. Thank you.